Our next speakers are bringing to us a really interesting and different topic for this kind of conference. So we're excited to welcome Janaina Santos and Alejandra Kahn from GEP NeuroArc, and they will be talking about the field of neuroarchitecture and evidence-based design and some ways that they've applied that for one of our Sanfilippo families. So welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Janaina Torquato Santos, interior designer here in Orlando, Florida.
Hi, I'm Alejandra Kahn. I'm also an interior designer and engineer, and also I'm a rare disease mom. My son Theo had another rare disease called CGD and passed 11 years ago at age 2. So this is all very meaningful for me too.
I will ask to pass to the next slide, please. So we are volunteers. We both, Ale and I, are volunteers with Grupo GAP NeuroArc. It's a team of very qualified professionals, engineers, architects, and interior designers, among others. We are here to use our knowledge and experience together with neuroscience to develop a nonprofit projects. And just to be clear, we are not doctors. We are on another different field, but this is what's all about. We are sharing here with you a little bit about our purpose and a very special project that we just finished with Cecilia and Maria. Maria's therapy room. I'm actually here. Maria was born with Sanfilippo syndrome as well, and we are also going to talk a little bit about her on the slide down. We started in South Brazil, and now we have volunteer members all over Brazil and US, and we completed some social work there, and this is the first one. Maria's therapy room is the first project here in US. Next slide, please.
So let's talk how everything started. So Jonas Salk, who developed the vaccine for polio, he was making his research in the early 1950s in Pittsburgh inside a lab, and he came to a dead end. So he decided to go to Italy and visit this Franciscan monastery, a big change of environment. And there, surrounded by a magnificent building from the 13th century, surrounded by art and nature, he came to the solutions he was looking for. And he attributed this change of mind to this enriched environment he was in. So you can skip to the next slide, please. So in collaboration with architect Louis Kahn, in the 60s, they built Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California. And he got a lot of the inspiration for this building from the monastery he was in Italy. He made huge windows to let the light come in, whitewashed walls, and this is a landmark, an architectural landmark until today. It still works there for biological studies. And ANFA, that is the Academy of Neuroscience for Architecture, was established there in 2003. So that's a little bit of the story. And what is neuroarchitecture? So neuroarchitecture, or neuroscience applied to architecture, is a multidisciplinary field that involves psychology, architecture, and neuroscience. And we study the way that built environments impact brain and human behavior. So based on the knowledge of neuroscience, designers and architects can build spaces thinking of the people that are going to use them and how that can interfere in their behavior. So using different kinds of stimuli like colors, textures, sounds, smells, and different elements, we can think of the outcome of the behavior of people who will use those spaces. So for example, you can control levels of stress, concentration, creativity, relaxation, socialization. You can think of all that when you're designing the space. And that's a very important thing when you're designing. So it's much more about experience than appearances. Next slide, please.
So when we talk about evidence-based design, it's our foundation to our projects, where we see that each individual have different feelings, reactions, like she was saying, colors, to shapes, to light temperatures, and each project is unique. Like Maria's activities room was made for her. So that's what it is. We base ourselves in evidence, and our researches it contemplates the creation of improvement of environment based on a careful research process. Next. This phrase is for everybody, I guess. There is no such thing as neutral spaces. Positively or negatively, consciously or unconsciously, the environment you are always impact. Always. That's by Ty Farrell, and that's our main phrase in what we do as designers and architects, and it very much applied to what we're doing here. Next. So there's no such, so what we're talking about is the fact in all of us, neuroscience combined with architecture. There's three main things that we take in consideration, which is sensory, how people receive the information around, cognitive system, culture, beliefs, and experiences, how each individual feels when they enter that room, and behavior, which is how you react or the answers when you're there. Next. This is a really good example of what we are talking about. How do you feel, how you feel when you enter the first room compared to the second room? This is very dark, sharp, punctual things, dark colors, not much natural lights, very much, it's kind of scary when you think about it. Next. Compared to this room where everything belongs to the right place, we have natural light, we have nature, very memory pictures involving that person who is entering in, the dog there, which brings emotions too. So everything that's planned to bring that comfort experience to the person who is using that bedroom. Next.
Now we're going to talk, about the case, some study cases that were successful. So one of the first ones was a research by Richard Ulrich. In 1986, he published this case. He studied 46 patients that had undergone gallbladder removal surgery, and 23 of them were in rooms after recovery. They were in rooms with windows that overviewed a garden and trees and nature. And the other 23, the control group, they were facing, the windows were facing building walls. And after studying these 46 patients, he realized that patients who were overlooking nature, they went home earlier and also asked for less and less potent pain drugs. Then, next slide, please. Then we have a different case, more recent, from 2016. This group studied the impact of images of the sky in the ceilings of rooms too. So they had 5 rooms designed with the images of sky in the ceiling and 5 rooms that had regular ceilings. And after analyzing the responses of 121 patients, they realized that those who were exposed to the sky images, they had lower blood pressure, lower stress, and lower anxiety levels. So it's just 2 of millions of cases, but as an example. Next slide, please.
So this is our Princess Maria. So for 1 year, our team researched and consulted with Maria's team, the multidisciplinary work carried out by professionals with architecture, design, psychology, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and psychotherapy. Everybody that worked with Maria for a long time, we consulted them to make all the details for this project to make it happen, and that would fit her lifestyle and benefit her while she does all the therapies. Maria is now 8 years old. She was born with Sanfilippo syndrome. She is very active, very happy kid, and we are happy to help her and Cecilia on her journey. Next.
So here's a little bit of how we did this project. First of all, the group as a whole, we studied Sanfilippo syndrome to get to know what it was all about. We also studied correlated diseases and syndromes and architectural strategies for those syndromes. Then we, as we said before, we based our studies in evidence-based design using scientific researches to choose what we would do and what would apply in the room. After that, we also had interviews with Cecilia and other Sanfilippo families. We used questionnaires for that, so we have data of different families. And then there was also an interview with Cecilia done by a psychologist in our group for specifics on Maria's case, on what made her happy, where she felt better, and so on. And to measure the results of our project, before anything was done to the room, we did a behavioral mapping and also neurometrics. And now that the room is finished, as you can see, we are going to repeat those tests to see the difference before and after the project was done in the same room.
Yeah, so most important is how we apply each material on the bedroom, on the room itself, the color of the temperature of the lighting.
I think next slide, right?
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. This is how the 3D looks like inside the room. So it's all the details were very thinking about the whole process of how she would experience being in that room. So even the chemicals on the paint colors applied to the room, the sunset mural that we did, the chairs, the organic shape of the table, very rounded. We bring the biofolium here. It was very important, like the green on the musks on the tree, and everything to make her feel cozy and comfortable and concentrate on her therapies. It was very important.
Also,
Next.
sorry,
Yeah,
also the skylight that you can see in the ceiling,
yes,
used a special technology that makes you think that you're really looking into a window and seeing the sky. And the lights, they simulate the day of the day, the light,
the outside.
and the outside light going from sunrise to sunset, and that helps regulate the circadian rhythm.
Yeah,
Also
the light was like one of the most
important
thing on the room, that we make sure that we got the correct one for her.
Also, this corner with the tree and the rug, it's like a space for relaxation where she can decompress from work between one therapy and another.
And this is how it turned out. This is a real picture. We do have lightings. The mural, the trees, the musks are natural musks. The lighting itself is like a daylight right now on the picture. We have the furniture there that will have all the activities that she will be doing here in the room, and the table where she's going to concentrate and do her therapy here in the room as well.
Yeah, every single element has a purpose. So all the reference to nature and as Janaina said, everything is organic shaped or rounded because that helps with stress. And for when you have sharp edges, like the picture Janaina showed before, then you are activating the fight or flight response in the body. So we were worried about every single detail to make it as for her well-being, so making it as comfortable and relaxation or whatever she needed. So she has everything inside this room for her therapies.
Yes, it's her temple, her little temple. Mm-hmm. The next slide, please. There is so much to talk about this project, and I'm sure you have a bunch of questions. We are very happy to answer all the questions, of course, but we do encourage you to take a look at our ebook with all the strategies going over Maria's project. It was 1 year of research with correlated syndromes to specify everything into the San Filippo with her case. All the details that will be positively impact Maria's life. And we hope that that's going to be retarding the development of San Filippo in her life so she can create much more memories with her family. There's a QR code.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, and in this book that you can access through the QR code in this ebook, you will see every single detail of the project, why it's there. And also there's a table with a content of things you can adapt or replicate in similar projects.
So the idea here is just to is really to help bringing the architecture with neuroscience and help the environment, not only for this kid, but for like clinics and spaces where this kid can really develop a better way of life, improve their lifestyle. So next. We did put some references here to what we spoke about it because that's our purpose to reproduce and develop more and more to what we learn. And we learn every day in our meetings. We get together at least once or twice a month with a group of 20, 25 people, everybody with their knowledge. And we bring doctors also to get their input on it. So this is for a better purpose, and I'm sure we can help other families as well as Maria and Cecilia. So we're looking forward. I want to thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to represent this really beautiful project and the beautiful brains of Gap NeuroArc. That was behind this project, and to allow us, and I also want to thank you, Cecilia, to allow us to be part of her family and introduce this project and be the first one of many.
Yes, I would like to thank you, Cecilia, and the organization for inviting us also. I know it's not the usual speaker, interior designers, but if whatever we said here today may inspire you and think about the transformative potential of architecture and think about how your offices, your waiting rooms can change the way the patients react or are less stressed, less anxious when they get to the rooms, or even when you have a room for cognitive tests and the room can affect the outcome of those tests. If that makes you think about this, and also in your houses where your kids play or sleep or do their therapies, how the design can impact their well-being as a general. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, guys. It's so interesting to think about new ways that are potentially accessible right here and now to enrich our children, and really think about how we prepare them to soak in and learn as much as they can, as long as they're able to. You've generated a lot of interest, and I know you're going to be getting a lot of folks reaching out to you. Just so I might summarize. Do you feel like if there was one or two takeaways that are cost effective for families, what would be the one or two things that you say, okay, you could do this now on a budget that might improve your space for the child?
I can give a very good example that happened to Maria before we started everything that is now ready. She used to live in a different house, and her playroom was together with the room where she did her therapies. When she moved, the room where she did her therapies was empty because we were going to do all the interventions. So the toys and everything else was in a different room. And while she started doing her therapies in this room, even if it was not ready, the therapist already could notice an improvement because it was an emptier space. So that's totally budget friendly. It's just to decluster the room. Yeah, decluster the room and make it cleaner. I think that's very easy and effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, declutter for sure. It's one thing. And budget friendly, I think, would be lighting, switching the lighting to a more comfortable. That's for everybody, and especially for them. They're very sensitive. Lighting itself to make a more comfortable indirect light, so that way they can concentrate on the activities and be like, okay, this is my time to concentrate on this, with their limitations, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you
And
so
lots
much.
of natural light whenever possible.
Yes, please. Natural light is very important.
Yeah, you spoke about the circadian rhythm and, how important it is to get that natural light, particularly to mimic, the timing of the day. So particularly earlier in the day. And if you can have some of that coming in or go outside during that time, of course.
Yeah, that's even better.
Would be even better. But, and thank you for bringing up, that consideration of how we might translate some of these ideas into particularly clinical setting when we're trying to evaluate cognitive testing, which is such a challenging time for our kids already. And so just food for thought as we move forward as a community and working with the neuropsychologists out there. So thank you so much for coming today.
Real quick, I think there was a question here if it was expensive. But the thing is, this project is a nonprofit. It was a social action. So everything that you see here, that you're going to see on our website, everything was volunteer. Not only our knowledge, but everybody that helped become this a reality. There were qualified installers that I presented the project, and everybody that I know that could do it, and everybody brought their experience, their knowledge, their time. And so everything here was done for Cecilia and Maria as a volunteer base, and we hope to do this more often. This is the first. We're going to do all the trials and the experiments so we can expand our families throughout the U.S. So
beautiful. Well, thank you for your work. I know you make a big impact, and Maria is a very lucky girl today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kara.